welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today I want to talk about another Automa Factory solo AI system from Stonemaier Games. Today I want to talk about Tapestry. So Tapestry is a civilization game where you are advancing your civilization across various tracks, whether it be a military-based track or a technology track or science track or exploration track. If you pick up expansions, some of them offer even more tracks. And personally, for me, just being able to kind of move up a track and see which one you want to go to and which one might kind of combo into helping you move up further on the next, or fill up your capital city sheet, or what works best with your civilization for the turn. All of these just flow really nicely into a game that Tapestry moves quite quickly. Turns are very easy, and you basically just choose a track, you spend the resources, you move up that track, and you gain the benefits and the bonuses from said track, and that's it. You basically continue playing until you've kind of run out of resources, and then you have to have an income turn where you kind of enter into a new era of your civilization. And there's only 5 income turns over the course of the whole game, so people may enter their 4th and 5th eras before other people. Some people may finish before others, but it's all in how you have decided to control your civilization. Now, all of that being said, the Automa is, in my opinion, one of the best that the Automa Factory has done. So before I give you my opinion as to why that is, let's briefly cover how Tapestry plays solo, specifically solo. So the basics of Tapestry is to choose a track that you want to move up on. You pay the necessary resources of the space you're moving into, and then you gain the actions and possibly pay the additional resources to gain the bonus as well. And the further up the tracks you push, the better your civilization becomes, the better your engine becomes in that particular aspect. So the AI is out to do the same things. It's out to push along tracks, to gain these landmarks, to reach the end of a track before anybody else, and score the most victory points. What's nice about the Automa is that it only really takes actions that are necessary to interact with you as the player and score victory points. All the other stuff is it just kind of doesn't worry about. So on the Automa's turn, you are going to take 2 of these cards here, and this deck is going to grow as the game goes along to simulate the Automa being able to take longer and longer turns, because like you as a player who would gain more and more resources throughout the game will be able to take longer and longer, more and more turns between eras. So the Automa has this deck of cards here. You're going to take 2 cards, the top 2 cards off the deck, and you're going to randomly flip them over and line them up side by side. The only parts of these cards that you're interested in is the middle section. So if you're familiar with, say, Gaia Project, this setup or system should look very familiar to you. Now what this is telling you is what the focus for the Automa, which is kind of in this bluish color, and what the focus for the Shadow Empire is also going to be. See, Tapestry is best played at 3+ players. So when you're playing solo, you have the Automa, who is basically taking the place of player number 2, and then the Shadow Empire is simulating a 3rd player, but even less so than the Automa is. So what appears in this box right here tells you the track focus for the Automa. Here's the track focus for the Shadow Empire, and then any tiebreakers that you might need to determine are going to be from here. The Automa always starts up here in the upper left and works this way. The Shadow Empire always starts down here at the bottom and goes this way. So these 2 boxes are very simple. You're simply looking at all tracks that the Automa has not finished yet, or the Shadow Empire has not finished yet. So if, for example, they had already made it to the end of the military track, they would ignore that one. But in this case, you're just simply going to look at the tiebreaker here. And it would start with military, then exploration, then its favorite track, its the science track, and then the technology track. Well, let's look at, say, a different card in this spot. Here, it's going to go after whichever track it is closest to the finish line in. So a track consists of 12 spots, and after you pass that 12 spot, you've reached the end of the line, or after you get to that 12th spot, you've reached the end of the line and you have finished. So this would be the track that they're closest to the finish line in, but not already finished. Here again, we see that we're just looking at the tiebreaker. But say the Automa was 3 away from the finish line on 2 tracks that were the same. Again, we look to the tiebreaker. Which one of those tracks appears first from top to bottom? Let's look at, well, that card's not helpful. Here we go. This symbol here means that whichever it's closest to either the next landmark that it can obtain or the finish line. So this building here represents these landmark buildings that are the fun pre-painted buildings that come with Tapestry that were all the rage when Tapestry first came out. So if it's closest to gaining a landmark, not just a landmark spot, but a landmark it can gain, that will become its focus. And again, if it's, say, 2 spots away from 2 separate landmarks, you're going to look to the tiebreaker here. Okay, so these, the cards here, also, if you ever have to place tiles out on the map and you're wondering a tiebreaker, you would look to this little map, and it's very easily explained and the arrows make a lot of sense. You'll also sometimes see this symbol, which means if they are conquering a territory, you're going to place their piece down, as well as a toppled Shadow Empire piece. And last but not least, if you have a card that has this on it, and it's either, and this appears on the last set of cards before the deck is empty, then it will take its income phase a step early. Otherwise, that's all this card's good for, just determining which track the Automa is going to move up on. It's then going to move up on its track without having to pay any resources, because again, it doesn't deal in resources, it doesn't deal in buildings, none of that stuff. It's going to push up the track, and then all you need to do is determine whether or not it's going to take the action that's listed here. And the only actions it takes are the ones listed on this card. So this is just a reference card for the Automa, and makes it very simple to say, oh, well here, scouting, you would normally gain 2 of these land tiles here if you are a human player, but this action, this symbol here, does not appear on this chart, so we skip it. But the next one, you can see, would be placing out one of those tiles. So you would actually take that and place it up here on the board somewhere, expanding the territory. Well, here we can see that it does take that action. So it would either explore, or if it's a conquer action, it will take that. If it's a gain a tech card action, it actually just discards the 3 tech cards that are out and brings out 3 new ones. And then these are simply advancing on that particular track. If it's a science die symbol, it's going to roll the science die and advance on that track, either gaining the benefit or not. And here it's going to gain a Tapestry card face down next to its map. That's it. That's all the Automa deals in. Otherwise, it's basically attempting to push along its track to beat you to these landmarks and to get to the end of a track faster. So let's quickly just take a look at how the conquer and explore actions work, and then we'll come back and take a look at an income turn. So when the Automa, either once the last 2 cards are placed out and this hand symbol is in the middle, or once the deck runs out, the Automa is going to take their income turn. There are 5 total income turns, and similar to your income mat, your base mat, it tells you here next to each of these actions which round you're going to take them, and almost all of them are taken rounds 2 through 4. Some are some of them add 5, some of them stop and don't do something on 5, some of them don't do anything on 1. but it's very straightforward here. And the actions that the Automa take can be, they can increase or decrease the difficulty by changing up these actions. So say on an increased difficulty, you may add 4 cards instead of 2, or there may be an entirely extra action right here that the level 3 or 4 Automa is going to take. So that's how the Automa increases its difficulty. There's also a hard side on the back of this sheet right here. But let's just look at these steps here real quick. In this case, both the Automa and the Shadow Empire are going to look to see if the tracks they're currently on should stay their favorite track. And basically all that means is somebody else beating them in their favorite track and they're ahead in a different track? If so, they're going to switch their focus of their favorite track to the one that they're ahead on. That's going to become their favorite. Here, this pink card simply just means your civilization bonus. For human players, that's when you're looking to like your larger civilization card, like this leader's card here. But in this case, you're just looking here. So since our focus at the beginning of the game became explorers, on income turns 2 and 4, we're going to push up the exploration track, and on 3 and 5, we're going to push up the military track. Then we come here and we're going to gain all of the VP for the Automa. So to do that, we come down here and we're just going to look also across to see the first set of multipliers that are uncovered. So here we would say, well, how many landmarks do they have? They've got 2 landmarks, and this is the beginning of the game, so they only have 1 conquered territory. That's 3 total points, but it just times 1. At the end of the game, though, that would be 3 total points times 3 for 9. All right. These 2 symbols here are how far they have pushed up. Actually, all 4 of these are simply how many spaces they have pushed up on those individual tracks. And last but not least, if they take their era or income turn before you do, they're going to gain these additional victory points as well. The next step is going to be to take cards from this larger pile here. You're going to take the top 2. You've shuffled that at the beginning of the game. Add them to the current deck. Here, you're going to take a Tapestry card from the discard or from the draw pile, and cover up the multipliers you just went through. That way, the next income phase, the multipliers have increased. Last but not least, they're going to gain a Tapestry card, and you're going to shuffle up this deck to be reused again. And that is an income turn. So at this point, you could easily sit down and work your way through a game with the solo Automa in Tapestry. So anytime the Automa takes an explore or conquer action, there's one thing you quickly need to ask yourself. Is their focus or favorite track the military track? If it is, the way they place down their tiles is going to be different. They're going to be much more focused on heading your direction to try and come and topple your outposts. Otherwise, if it's any other track, they're going to kind of stay away from you unless they are right next to you and can easily conquer one of your outposts. So usually the focus for the AI at the beginning of the game is to head towards the middle. So they're going to work by placing down tiles, placing their things, and focusing on the middle. After that, their focus is either going to be to completely stay away from you, or if they're military, to head towards you. So when they take the explore action, they're going to look, can they work their way towards the middle? Yes. If so, they would place that there. If not, they're going to place it furthest away from you. So in this case, they would go here, and it has to be adjacent to a hexagon that they control. So in this case, it's here. These 2 are obviously closer to me, so they would place it here. If, however, they are more aggressive because they're doing the military track, they would place here instead of here because this is closer to me. But anytime they take the explore action, you simply take a top tile from one of the stacks, you flip it over, and you drop it down in the indicated empty hex you've determined in some kind of random orientation. The AI does not score any points for how it's placed or the lands, and it doesn't gain any resources from inside. If it takes the conquer action, it's not only going to get to put out an outpost, but it's also going to get to place a tile. So the conquer action for the AI is actually a kind of combination of explore and conquer at the same time. So again, a conquer action, they're going to first look to head towards the center to be able to conquer the middle island, because that's one of these things here. And then after that, if, for example, let's just set something up here, I had worked my way this way, and it's further on in the game, and this was the setup here. In this case, and let's just say they got there first, and then I came in behind them and toppled them over. In this case, they are directly adjacent to me. So they could conquer here, they could conquer here, they could conquer here or here. No matter whether they're military focused or not, they're going to attempt to topple me over. So they would not place a explore island there. They would simply place here and topple me over. Unless I played a trap, in that case, I would trick them out and topple them over. Now, the only time that they do not look to head towards me, or do not attempt to topple me, is when this symbol is here. They will instead conquer an area that they can also bring in a toppled Shadow Empire. So again, remember, the Shadow Empire does very little in this game. It basically just pushes up tracks, gains landmarks, and possibly gets to the end of an advancement track faster than you. Other than that, their outposts always come in with the AI's outpost, and it always comes in toppled and stays toppled. They don't ever control lands or anything like that. So this right here, the explore and conquer action, are easily the two most confusing rules that come with the AI. So if you can figure this out, the AI should be easy breezy for you. So let's come back and take a look at an income term for the Automa, and then we'll move on to my thoughts on the game. To set up a game using the Automa, you're going to have to set up some outposts and player tokens for your Automa in whatever chosen color, as well as some of the outposts and a single token for the Shadow Empire. And then everybody gets a token at the beginning of each each track, each advancement track, and only you and the AI are going to keep track of score. So the AI does not deal in buildings, it does not deal in resources. All right, all it deals in is outposts, some of its player tokens, and tapestry cards. Everything else, it's either going to just rifle through and discard, or it doesn't even bother taking that action. On top of putting a player token for it at the beginning of every track, placing the rest nearby, you're going to roll the science die at the beginning of the game. That's going to determine, and there, look, I rolled exactly where I had placed it, what the AI's favorite track is going to be. This is going to come into play when determining tiebreakers and things like that. So I rolled the science die, the exploration symbol came up, so this, you take one of its outposts and place it there. This is now its favorite track. You're going to do the same thing for the Shadow Empire, and you're going to keep re-rolling until you pick a track that's different from the AI's track. So in this case, I rolled the science die and got the science symbol. So my Shadow Empire, which is green, its favorite track is the science track. You're going to go ahead and place two of their outposts here on 3 and 5. You're going to place yours wherever your capital city map is concerned. And then you're also, once you have determined your favorite track, you're going to find the card that is indicating which of the AI's favorite tracks is. So if they were science was their favorite track, they would, sorry for the glare, they would put this card face down. But here they are explorers, so they're putting the explorer card face down. You can also adjust the difficulty of the AI by placing, say, a level 1 card. The level 2 AI is built in built onto the card here, but you can cover it up with a level 1 all the way up to level 4. So you can increase or decrease the difficulty. This is the steps of the income turn that we'll talk about later on in the game. Last but not least, you're going to find all of the AI cards, which look like this with the Caesar head on them with the circle. So this is, I believe, 8 cards. You're going to take these. You're going to take the remainder of them, which have a square in the lower right. You're going to shuffle these up, take the top one, add it to all your circle ones, shuffle these up, and you are ready to go. So just to reiterate one more time, the AI does not deal in resources. They do not deal in buildings. They are only concerned about pushing up the tracks and scoring VP. Welcome back. So now you've seen how the Automa Factory in this case works. And in my opinion, the Automa Factory is one of the best kind of AI systems out there that's regularly producing games that have a top-notch AI that I enjoy playing. Now, Tapestry, again, could be ranked right up there with Scythe, with Viticulture, with Wingspan, obviously is some people's favorite. But this is why, here's 4 reasons why I think that Tapestry stands above the rest. 1, it's super quick and easy to implement. You basically flip over 2 cards and you move up that track, and there's a handful of actions that the AI may or may not take. Similar to Wingspan. Wingspan, you just kind of flip over 2 cards, it gives you a quick action to do, and you take it. In this one, there's an actual score to beat. So, for example, I recently covered a game, Libertalia, where it was going after the little tokens. It is ranking up its coins on its little treasure chest, and you have a physical score to beat. Now, Wingspan also does that, and, Scythe is kind of doing that. But I really like how this one, you can see the score going. Now, granted, the AI really only kind of scores during its income phases, but that's really your big scoring chances too. So it really just kind of plays like a normal player. The next one is that it forces you to race for certain milestones or pick and choose certain milestones, similar to Scythe. Scythe will say, all right, is getting to that middle, the city in the middle, the factory in the middle, that important to you, or are you going to let the AI have it? Here it's, are you okay with the AI racing up the exploration track because you're going to focus over here, or are you going to go toe-to-toe with the AI and keep them from getting any of the landmarks? Honestly, this is probably one of the biggest drawbacks I feel like in the system, is that it tends to, and it can be random, but depending on how the cards come out, a lot of times the AI can just race up one specific track, making it almost impossible for you to, get ahead on that track, but also means that you could easily go back or go to other tracks and say, all right, well, this is going to be my dominant focus, and this is just how I'm going to play this game this time. And the last one is scenarios. Now, scenarios only come into effect if you have picked up one of the expansions. I believe it's Plots of Ploys or Fantasies and Futures, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. Scenarios simply just change up some of the rules. The base game is still there. Setup might be a little differently, but you might have a slightly different end game. This is just a really nice way to change things up if you are playing Tapestry so much that you're kind of tired of beating the same old AI. Well, throw in a scenario and it makes things entirely different. Viticulture really did this in a great way, that all it really did was change up a single rule or two, or maybe change a setup, but it just was that added challenge to say, all right, well, you can go out and beat the AI on standard difficulty, but can you beat it if I take away this from you, or if you have to do this every turn, yada yada yada. So taking all those together, those are some of the highlights of why I really appreciate the other AIs, the quickness and ease of implementation of Wingspan, the actually having a score to beat in Libertalia, the racing for milestones in Scythe, and the scenario possibility in Viticulture. You take all of that and combine it together, and you've got Tapestry. So that's why I am highly recommending Tapestry for solo playing purposes. It's a good game for multiplayer too, because it's so easy to teach, and then you just kind of let people explore from there and decide which direction they want to go, which focus they want to do, or focus what areas they want to focus on. Now, with all that being said, and this recommendation coming very high for me, if a lot of people, I get this question, I see it a lot on social media. Well, if I'm going to get one expansion, I'm really enjoying the game, what one expansion should I go out and get first? This one's going to be super easy for me. Normally, I really like to take on expansions as they were implemented, because I feel like designers have a reason for, putting out this expansion before this one. But the Fantasies and Futures expansion, which we will be highlighting next on the channel, is a really nice kind of next step, I guess you could say, as far as expansions are concerned. It's not a big box expansion. It's not a boxed expansion at all. It actually comes in a compostable envelope. And it is going to give you some more Tapestry cards. It's going to give you more technology cards, but it's also going to give you those scenarios from all of the expansions. It's going to give you a consolidated rule set from all the expansions. It's going to give you the most up-to-date AI rule book. So it's like the best of everything, or a little bit of the best of everything tucked into this really nice, neat package that's very easily going to fit in your core box. And that's Fantasies and Futures. Again, we will be highlighting that expansion on the channel next, so keep an eye out for that. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you have a different opinion on which you think is the best Automa Factory AI. Now, I know there are some other AIs out there, for example, David Terzi and Anachrony and things like that. I'm not saying that this is the best AI system ever, but I am staking my claim that Tapestry has the best AI system amongst the Stonemaier games and the Automa Factory system AIs. So, if you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. Please leave it in the comment section below. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Other than that, once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.